Jason, how are you?
I'm great, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So I all week, we just haven't had time to get into the Michael Oher story about the movie Blindside, and I wanted to ask you, because I think you probably know all of the players, maybe even personally, but I wanted to get your take on this because. Yesterday I saw a tweet that, the Oscars should be given back because it was all a lie. And is it a lie? Was this all a lie?
No, not at all. And I can say that having reread the book, The Blind Side, published in 2006, read Michael Oher's memoir, his first one in 2011, I Beat the Odds. Having rewatched the movie, I did all this week. No, it's not all a lie. The movie is actually pretty accurate to the book, and Michael Oher endorsed the book in his 2011 memoir and in subsequent interviews the years since. He has said he liked the book, but he didn't like the way the movie portrayed him as dumb and as, not totally responsible for his own success. And so then you go back and reread the book, The Blind Side, which he says he endorses, and the movie portrays him not only fairly, but probably in a far more positive and uplifting light than the book did. This kid came to that family with some severe problems. He couldn't read at age 16, and he had to be taught how to shake hands. He didn't engage with people. He had faced so much neglect, trauma, abandonment from ages 0 to 15 or 16 that, he was embarrassingly shy and reclusive, couldn't read.
I didn't get the impression that he was stupid in the movie. I didn't read the book, but I didn't get the impression he was stupid. I got the impression that he had been neglected and he had never been taught any of these things. And I actually came out of the movie having tremendous respect for him because of what he had conquered.
Exactly. And again, one of the subtle points of this recasting of The Blind Side and the way the media is covering it, the underlying message is that, hey, the nuclear family being raised properly, that's all irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is, did you face racism? And it's like family and upbringing, we're pretending like this didn't damage this young man incredibly, and that the Tuohys family and many other families at this private school and friends tried to put a broken child back together and send him along his way. And it's all being denigrated right now. And this rewriting of history that it's just, The Blind Side is just another statue being torn down, Glenn.
So before we get to motivation, the one thing that I heard that I've heard differently since, but I want you to address it, was that the Tuohys family, they were using him. They never adopted him. He thought he was adopted, and it was all a lie. Any of that true, Jason?
No. In his 2011 memoir, he writes about the conservatorship, knew that he was not adopted. This is all a rewriting of history. As it relates to their motivation, Sean Tuohy, the dad, was a all-time great Ole Miss basketball player. His background is basketball. He was a volunteer assistant coach at the Christian high school that brought Michael Oher in. His original interest in Michael was as a basketball player and was writing letters to small colleges thinking if we could ever get this kid academically straight, he could be a 6'5", 300-pound Division III, Division II basketball player, and that's how we'll push him along. They discover the football talent after he's moved into their home, And so this whole thing, like they knew there was NFL riches and he was this great prospect. No, he was a 6'5", 345-pound kid when they got him.
Jeez.
And they hoped they could turn him into some Division II, Division III basketball player and get him educated that way. It's a whole recreation of history. The facts just don't line up with what was written in the 2006 book, what Michael Oher cops to in his own original memoir. It's another rewriting of history.
So let me go to motivation. I can see the motivation in the press. They love this kind of story. Here you had some heroes. They were, God-centered people, showed the truth about families and what happens when there isn't a family. So I can understand that. But Michael to be involved in this, is it true that he was blackmailing the family for a while? I guess that was the right word, and saying, look, I'm going to come out with this unless you pay me. Is that true?
That's certainly the allegations that the Tuohys lawyers have raised, and the Tuohys son has stated. I guess we'll have to find out over time. But I think as it relates to Michael Oher's motivation, read the book, read his memoir. This is a broken child who has never been put back together, and he's still a broken person. And so there's reason to have great sympathy. And again, this is where it goes back to the message everybody should be taking from this is just like, hey, man, family and upbringing, those first formative years of a child are so vital, so important. If they're damaged in the womb from not being properly cared for, and the mother being a crack addict, and if they're abandoned and neglected as a child, these ramifications will go on for a lifetime. And as best I could tell from his 2011 memoir and from reading The Blind Side, he's never gotten that type of therapy and treatment that he obviously needs. And so I think he's come up on hard times. He's written a new book, When Your Back's Against the Wall. It's out right now. I think he's hyping his book. I think he hopes that some Hollywood producer, Netflix, someone will say, hey, let's do a remake of The Blind Side and tell it the proper way and make the black kid the hero and the white people evil, and let's cut Michael Oher a big check for the new Blind Side. I think that's his angle.
Oh, wow. That is tragically sad, and it probably will happen. Do the Tuohy family, have you had a chance to talk to them, or anybody talk to them personally without attorneys, and not to say, hey, what's the real score, but how do they feel?
They have made a public statement, the dad has, that they're devastated, and they should be. This relationship deteriorated years ago. And again, it's not uncommon, Glenn. I have not talked to the Tuohys. I want to be perfectly clear with that. I have talked to people that contend they know the Tuohys. But I'll just talk about myself, having been involved with, let's call it, at-risk kids. Took a cousin into my home when I lived in Kansas City for 2 years to get him up out of a gang lifestyle. After 2 years, we fell out. He went back home to Indianapolis, got in trouble. We are now very close. He now acknowledges, all the things I was trying to teach him when he was younger were legitimate, and he wished he had listened closer then. But Glenn, and I know, or I can speculate about the amount of charitable work and the people you've tried to help. Sometimes they're just ungrateful. And sometimes the damage that they experience at a young age is too much to overcome, and they eventually lash out at the very people who have shown them love and have tried to help them because they don't know what to do with their emotions. Michael Oher's mom and dad failed him horribly, and the dad is dead. The mom is strung out on drugs, or has been for many years. Maybe today, hopefully, she's sober. But he's lashing out at some people that have a lot of money and had showered him with a lot of resources. And sometimes I hate to make the analogy, but you feed a cat, and the cat never leaves your doorstep. No matter, well, you might set them up in a new home. They may make $30-40 million in the NFL, but eventually may blow that money and return to you, the people that previously supplied them resources, and ask again.
Well, I will tell you. I learned several years back that if you're doing charity to get love back, good luck with that.
Yeah.
It can't change you, because so many times you will do something, because you just feel it's right. And, the thing that I learned, and I say this all the time, I'll do something, people say, really? You're expecting that to go well? I'm like, no, I feel compelled to do that. Now that's up to them with what they do with it. But I don't ever want to close my heart, because you will get burned several times. But there is also those who occasionally will step up, and something will happen, and it will be glorious, absolutely glorious. And that's what we should concentrate on, not necessarily the ones that don't work out. Because also, he's got the rest of his life. I mean, this thing may turn around yet again. Who knows?
It certainly could. And I do want to back up your hopeful note and just say that I got involved with a Ball State football player. I played football at Ball State. He broke his neck in 2007, kid named Dante Love. It's been one of the greatest experiences of my life. And Dante's probably now 36, 37 years old, married, 2 kids, great career, very appreciative of all the things that I did for him. He's like an adopted son to me. And so a lot of these things work out. And Dante comes from a very, very tough, very similar to Michael Oher's background. When he was a student at Ball State, we had to do a lot of things. The coaches' wives, do a lot of things to help him get through school and to help him catch up from all the neglect he experienced at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. This is a great young man, knows the Bible forward and backwards. I call him for biblical interpretations. I mean, he's just a great young man, great. And so all the time, resources, well worth it. And was it easy? No. Did we have some bad moments? Yes. Did on the other side, is it awesome and is it great? And I agree with you. Don't do any of it looking for nothing other than hopefully you'll get to heaven one day and God will say, hey, I'm well pleased with what you did there. That will be your only reward.
Yeah. Jason, thank you so much, as always. I just love you, man. Jason Whitlock, Blaze TV, host of Fearless. If you have not seen Fearless yet, you need to. Jason is just doing a tremendous, tremendous job and comes at things at a completely different angle that I think you'll really enjoy. Jason Whitlock, thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate it.